Okay, hi again everyone. I've kind of cleaned up a bit. I'm going to kind of walk you through my process of how I do shearing 3 different ways. On this first video, I'm going to do the best to prop my camera up. I don't have like a setup, so just bear with me. Again, just to go over what you're going to kind of need for this one, whatever you like to use to draw your lines and just a straight ruler. I will be using this washable water marker. I don't use them on actual fabric. I don't think they really wash out that well personally. I do prefer heat pens because I can just run over with my iron and the lines disappear. And well, chalk's just great, Taylor's chalk. So I'm gonna I already pre-washed and ironed this fabric. It's been that way. It's a little crinkly now. I haven't ironed it. My dog actually knocked my iron down, so I can't fill it with water. You do need a steam iron though for shearing, so I have to go buy a new one. But I'm just gonna show you kind of the difference. So I will be using the red, which is the marker, just so you guys can see everything. I will be using black thread, just so you can see that as well. This one is the Taylor's chalk. Oh, sorry, this one is, and this is the black heat pen. So when I iron it, it's completely gone, and now I'm just left with the chalk and the water marker. So I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna show you. This is just like a very poorly cut rectangle, and it's very small. It's just for the purpose of this video. The first thing I do, because usually it involves a rectangle, especially for the back for shearing, and the front, or I'm sure you've seen like dresses or shirts that have shearing all the way around them. It's really just like a rectangle. And then like there's different styles of upper tops you can do. Typically your whole back though is just going to be a rectangle piece. So I take a ruler, a standard ruler. I got it at the Dollar Tree. I get a lot of my supplies, like rulers, sketching paper, crafting paper, posting board, all that at Dollar Tree. It's just cheaper. I got these markers there. I get like my pens there. Just things that I don't feel I need to spend a lot of extra money on for special products. So I always put the top part right at the end of my top of my fabric. And again, this is not going to be perfect because I just poorly cut out a rectangle for the purpose of this video. I just draw a line, and I just continue this all the way down. However you want to draw your lines. If you don't want to draw your lines, that's perfectly fine. This is just how I do it. When you get to the bottom, you want to make sure your top and bottom have like your seam allowance to them. So I'm now gonna, like, I usually start with this and then I add more shearing as I go. I don't use a marker for the rest of it, but I put the ruler over each line I already drew, and then I just draw one on top and bottom. And then now just the bottom. Again, I would measure this a lot better. I'm just doing this for the video. So now you have all your shearing lines. This would be like across my back going this way. This is if you have straps, where your straps would go, and these will be the sides that attach to the front of your bodice. Sorry, this would probably help if I was doing it like this. Again, sorry, I've never made videos. So we have our lines drawn. The first type I'm going to do, and I will probably end up cutting this fabric because I want you to see the difference in the shearing. I'm going to be using my 1/4 inch elastic for the first two types of shearing. So the first one, you're only going to need a pin if you want, just to hold it in place. You will also be doing this on the wrong side of your fabric. So you're just going to kind of lay it on a line. I am going to go ahead and just snip mine so it matches up. And again, you would just pin the end in place so it kind of stays. I, however, am not going to do that for my sewing purpose. So I'm actually going to now flip the camera around. And again, try to kind of prop my camera so you can see my machine. So here is my elastic and my first little red line. I'm just gonna lay this right across the line, and I know I'm using a 9014 universal needle. I am not using a stretch needle because I don't have stretch fabric. I would use a stretch needle if I had stretch fabric, but that's not the case. So for this, I am gonna actually switch my settings to 3 for me, which is a zigzag stitch. And I'm just going to leave the settings the way it is, the automatic settings it comes with. You want your tension to be somewhere between 3 and 4. Mine has an auto option, so I just leave it there for this part. And this is just a good starting point for elastic and to sew it on. You will stitch, back stitch when you start and end. So let's get to it. So before I do anything, I am just going to kind of stitch and back stitch just the very beginning of the fabric and elastic. Now, for this, I will be stretching quite a bit the elastic. Most people, for swimsuit, you only stretch a little as it goes. I'm going to be stretching a little bit more. And then I'm just going to... So you can see like how it gathered. Again, because this is white, I would use white string usually. But it automatically kind of gathers. It's also a great way just to get this like ruffle if you want to do this at the top of a shirt or like at the bottom of a skirt. But it stretches right back out. That's why it's very important to use a zigzag stitch. It's a stretch stitch, so it will hold up very well. Then you're just going to cut off any extra that you have. Again, I just kind of measure it like to how long my fabric is, and then do that. So I'm going to do it one more time so you can see like what the next row would look like. And again, this would be like the strip is going to be on the wrong side or bad side of your fabric. So the pretty print would be on the other side, so you only see your thread, not the elastic. So again, I'm just going to kind of lay it down, measure where I'm going to kind of need. Line it up with my red line here. Sorry, that's like so bad. I'm so bad at this. You just like put them over your lines so you can follow your line that you made. Again, make sure you're on a zigzag stitch, and you are going to stitch and back stitch when you first start and end. And then now I'm going to actually pull this to straighten out my fabric, and this as I'm sewing. And here is your next row. This is the side with the elastic. I did skip a couple stitches accidentally pulling it too quickly. I didn't pull it. It takes practice. But ideally, if that doesn't happen and your lines are correct, it's going to look like this, but with your like matching thread. So you will start to get that shearing effect, which stretches out. And yeah, it's pretty simple to start out. This is also like a great way to line bikinis and things like that, or swimsuits, so that like you have that stretch. And then again, it's just very important to like stitch and back stitch. I'm just doing this quickly, so it's like kind of messy, but it gives you that good pull. And now I'm going to move on to the next technique. I am going to cut this part off though, because I want you to see the difference, and then at the end I'll kind of like hold up all three. This is without it being ironed. This is just sewing the elastic in this way. But where I did like miss that stitch, you can see, and also it's not even on this side because I just, like I said, I cut a very poor rectangle for the purpose of this video. But ideally it will look like this as you do your channels all the way down with the right color thread. All right, the next video.